Okay, we are live on Facebook.
All right, hello everyone, and thank you. While we worked through some technical difficulties, we are still hoping to get our regularly scheduled moderator, Matriots board member Valerie Lemmy, who is also a founding member of the Matriots. But bear with us, because technology, as we're learning, is we're super reliant on, right? So yeah. Welcome to those of you who have joined us on Zoom and on Facebook. It's my pleasure to welcome you to what we hope will be a series of discussions as we continue to shelter in place. A special thanks to our guests today, Montgomery County Commissioners, Carolyn Rice, who was a Matriots endorsed candidate in 2018, and Judy Dodge and Debbie Lieberman, who are endorsed candidates in 2020 in what has become a prolonged primary campaign for you, right, ladies?
A little bit.
Yeah. So just a little bit of Zoom etiquette and Facebook etiquette. We do have everyone who is in attendance muted. We are also streaming on Facebook. If you have questions and could use the chat feature or use the discussion feature on Facebook, we will pose as many of those questions as we can. And now that we are about 10 minutes late in getting started, we'll still spend about 30 minutes to the extent that we're able to keep folks around. So thank you for bearing with us. Just a brief introduction to who the Matriots are, and then I want to hear from you ladies. We are a PAC, a political action committee with one mission, and that is to elect more women in the state of Ohio, from school board to one day governor. And our central belief is that when women lead, Ohio prospers. And the need that we address is that women are significantly underrepresented in public office in Ohio. In fact, our original research shows that only 27% of Ohio's seats are filled by women. And so what we do is endorse and support women candidates, providing money for their campaigns, as well as building their power and influence through the network of women and men who we put together across the state in this cause. So let's dig in to learn a little bit about what's going on in Montgomery County as it relates to the COVID crisis. Most of us are quarantined. I think that yours are even perhaps fake backgrounds. You're likely not sitting in the commissioner's office, right?
And it's backwards as far as I know.
Oh, but I am. I'm at work.
Okay, okay. So our county commissioners are on the front lines, of course, keeping us safe, keeping us healthy as they work with the state and local elected officials, our first responders, our doctors, and other personnel to ensure our county effectively responds and recovers from the impacts of the coronavirus when we get to the recovery portion. So most importantly, we know that you are directly responsible for the services most in demand, which include public health, job and family services, and wow, we can't thank you enough for the work that you're doing. I'm gonna pose the first question, and then I'm gonna welcome Valerie to take over from here. Hello, Valerie. So ladies, if each of you in turn, I'll start with Judy, tell us how you are balancing work and family and how being on the front lines of the crisis is balanced with the need to shelter in place as it relates to you, your job, and your campaign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, now I am depressed since you said all that. I thought I was handling it very well. No, it's very hard. I have a friend who isn't well, so I spend a lot of time with him. And then I have another home with my wonderful dogs, and my son luckily is there taking care of them. And grandchildren who I've not seen. I see them on Facebook and cry when I see them because they're growing up on me, and I know Carolyn knows that, because they're out of town. But it's been hard. And but you know, I've got my mask here, right here, and so I have that on all the time. And I think what Carolyn said earlier, thank heavens for our staff and our wonderful other elected officials. We're all in this together, and we're all very supportive of each other and trying to do the best that we can, because the main thing is our citizens. But we have to keep government working, and we have so many of our employees are out there working hard every single day, making sure that if there is a pipe that bursts. Our environmental services are out there, plus the people that work at Job and Family Services taking all the calls that they're getting. And trust me, there are so many calls about unemployment problems, their food stamps, their child support issues. So we're definitely very, very busy.
Yeah. Debbie, what about you? How are you keeping things in balance? I know you may have tips for those of us who are really at our wits' end working from home. And how are you keeping the county on a path here?
Well, since this has happened, it seems like every day there's another fire to put out. In fact, I was telling a commissioner, actually the county executive from up in Cuyahoga.
Oh. Mm.
Oh, it looks like we might have.
I don't know about ours. Then I changed everything. We had to, figure out how people can work from home. Our frontline staff, make sure they're safe. As Judy said, a lot of the county employees are mission critical, and so they are essential. They can't do it from home. Yeah. So, working through how are we going to pay everybody, and how are we going to work this out, and how can we get people that have to be home with their children, teaching, how do we deal with that? So every day there's been another issue, and as we slowly come back, there'll continue to be issues. And so I'm thankful for our partnership with the state, with all of our jurisdictions. Everybody's been real positive as we can be in this environment. But and then how to find that balance, it's been tough. I'll tell you. We went to not having our live meetings 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they're live, but in person. And that has been interesting. We've all kind of caught on, but as you can hear, my dogs haven't quite caught on to me being here all the time yet. But it's been a challenge. But there have also been some good things. My oldest son and a friend of his have been quarantining here with us, and so that's been nice. My youngest son is actually in Alaska, in Anchorage, doing a year with AmeriCorps there, and they sent him home with pay. AmeriCorps did, but not home, but to his home there. And so he's adopted a puppy. And so, they're calling them quarantine dogs. So he now has a puppy. So he's doing all right now. But I think every day it does get a little bit harder because we want to get out and not just be at work every day, but also do the things that we're used to doing. I know that just like everywhere else in the country, our economy is really suffering, and we hate to see that suffering. We as a county and Jobs Ohio, we were just the three of us were just on a Zoom with Jobs Ohio. Everybody's working hard to make sure that we get through this, but then when we come back, that we can get moving as fast as we can. Obviously, government, whether it's local or federal or state, we're all going to be suffering for quite a while. So we're just, figuring out, what do we cut? What do we do? What's next? So every day is another challenge.
Yeah. Carolyn, a little bit different twist on this question for you. Leading in difficult and uncertain times, there's no roadmap for this. That has to be challenging and demanding. What do you draw from in terms of whether it's policies, procedures, teamwork that was already in place, or just your own personal experience that helps you sort of figure this out each day you wake up?
Well, I would say it's a combination of all those things. Quite honestly, our county and our region have been through a lot since I took office. I was the county treasurer before, but I've only been a county commissioner since January of last year. And we had a series of disasters that have visited our community. And this is another one of a totally different dimension. And I would take away any one of them, but they have all brought out the best in us and have readied us for this moment to the best that any community can be readied. And just like in the past events that our community has, suffered through, I am like inspired and in awe of how everyone's come together. And it really helps you, not only as an individual or as a family, but also as a community. And I think the nation and the world begin to understand what really matters, and that it's all people, and how we live in a global community. Something that started on the other side of the world has, surrounded the whole world, and we have to work together to get through these things. I think when you see just all of these heroic acts of everyone from the grocery to all of our county employees to law enforcement, I think, it really leaves a deeper impression. Sometimes we say these things, but now we fully appreciate it. And I hope kindness will get us through. But personally, I've been through ups and downs in my whole life, as almost, I think, every individual has. So you draw strength from that. And I do think some of your faith helps to see you through. And so it's just, I think I said earlier, surround yourself with excellent, outstanding team of people, which we have a whole county of them. You're in a good place to face whatever comes our way. And I am so incredibly proud. I don't know how we can thank all these individuals for their tireless efforts to keep doing what our citizens need. And our heart goes out to the community. So I'm in a good place. I know that our lives are all different, but I can sleep at night knowing that people are doing the very best, and it breaks my heart what people are going through, but I know we'll be there for them for a long, long time to come. And I actually think that it could shift some of the thinking around the world to really realize, like, what are some of the things we should be investing in the future, so people don't have to suffer through a situation like this.
Yeah.
But that's
I'll pick up there, and maybe I'll direct this question to Judy, but along those lines, I've been thinking about all of the ways that elected officials have really had to extend their powers, and then the way that the voting has had to be reassessed and examined, right? The extension of our primary here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably good sides, bad sides, potential for the democracy, but there are a lot of things that we've observed about the way that leadership and democracy and voting works. What are your hopes, and I guess what are your fears, Judy, for how we come out of this as institutions and as citizens?
Well, as a county commissioner, I'm sure the other ones will agree with this. 90% of our job is on uncharted territory. I mean, every day we come in, you never know what crisis is going to be facing us. And I think Carolyn talked about that. Since I've been a commissioner, we've faced so many challenges here, and especially this past year. And as far as the voting, I'm very nervous about it, to be perfectly honest. I'm really concerned about the mail-in ballots. I am praying that it works fine. And I know they've been just slammed here in Montgomery County as far as the requests for absentee ballots. And I'm hoping that goes okay. I have complete trust in our Board of Elections. That's not a problem at all here in Montgomery County. But it is a little unsettling, and we are going into uncharted territory as far as the election coming up in the fall. Debbie and I are up, and we've had to stop everything back a month or so ago. We couldn't campaign anymore, we couldn't do anything. And so we don't know what's going to happen now in the fall. Hopefully, here in a couple months, we're going to be back on the trail again. But it is a little awesome here what's going to happen in the next couple months as far as election time, because we're at the county level. Can you imagine the state and the federal level, what they're going to have to go through? Right. So this is uncharted territory, as I said.
Right. Valerie, I see that we can see and I believe hear you. Welcome to the conversation. Are you ready to pick it up from here?
Can't hear her.
We can't hear you. Okay.
No.
But we're glad to see your face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hi,
okay.
Valerie.
So I noticed that in March, some research that came out of the St. Louis Fed showed that 43.9% of Dayton metro area workers are at risk of losing their jobs due to COVID-19. And probably as fast as these data are changing, it could be completely different by today, right? But Debbie, I'll direct this at you. Is that information consistent with what you're seeing? Has it exploded since then? We got new numbers yesterday, right? And if so, how can the county support the workers as they lose those jobs? How do you leverage ODJFS or other programs?
Well, it is overwhelming. We don't really know the total amount of unemployed. As we know, not just in Ohio, but states throughout the country, people are having a hard time getting registered and getting signed up for unemployment. But we do know that those numbers that you just mentioned are true. We see it every day. I mean, whether it's at the lines that are lining up at our food bank, all the other places and many of them can't serve people. Like the food bank's trucks can't go out and serve people. So yes, it's affecting us tremendously. A lot of the jobs, I was just reading this this morning, a lot of the jobs here are those type of jobs that are furloughed or eliminated. Our service industry, our Convention and Visitors Bureau. I mean, just job after job, organization after organization. We are happy that a lot of our manufacturing has tried to stay open, but it's tough. And so we know that the fallout's just going to be worse. Our Job and Family Services, while it's shut down to the public, is still working every day. Our workforce development team is working every day to not only help people find the jobs, because there are a lot of jobs in our region available, but it's making that connection. And then our workforce team is also, and our economic development team are working to help employers, how to figure this out. It's a whole new world for everyone. We went through a lot here in the country, but specifically here in 2007, 2008, because not only did we have the recession, but we also lost GM and then a lot of the suppliers for that. So we've done rapid response, but nothing to this level. And so, every day we're just gearing up and helping people as much as we can. We've been able to provide additional monies for homelessness. We've been able to provide additional money for our food bank. So, but that money is not going to be here soon. I mean, that was a couple weeks ago, and now we're looking at where are we going to cut and how much are we going to have to cut. So it's everyone, our nonprofits who have been obviously hurt by this, but they're still working every day to make sure that the safety net is there for the people that were already involved, but also to people that have never had to ask for anything before. And so we're saying to them, don't be afraid to ask, let's ask and let us help you. So it's a bit overwhelming, but as the other commissioners mentioned, we've got a great team that is working hard on this every day.
Well, and I think that we're blessed that we have a lot of programs already in place. We didn't have to create them.
Right.
And, even things like we were already working on, I don't think we're ready to launch it yet, but we're working on a mobile workforce development big trailer that will be, when it's ready, be able to go out into the community. And part of that comes from our experiences last year, realizing that we already have these services, but we're working hard to be able to go and go where people are, not expect them to come to us. So, I mean, I think we're in as good a place for a horrible situation as one can be, that we have the foundation of the tools and resources we need. And now we just need to target them and prioritize them so we get the best effect.
Valerie?
Can't hear you.
Not hearing her still. Okay. I want to shift gears just a little bit because, you know, the Matriots is very proud to have endorsed each of you. You make up an historic all-female elected county commission. Women are on the front lines when it comes to child rearing and keeping our communities healthy and safe, but we are not on the front lines when it comes to establishing family-friendly policies because of that underrepresentation at the policymaking tables, right? So I would ask you, and I'll just, maybe this will be a quick hit for each. We'll start with Judy. How are you experiencing the difference in female leadership at this time, and its need going forward?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, you have to understand, as a county commissioner, most of the things we do is not female, male, Republican, Democrat. It's just common sense bills that we have to pay and things like that. You know, it's just kind of a day-to-day, job. There's so much of just constant things. You have to understand too, the county, we're simply an administrative arm of the state. The state basically tells us what to do. So, and a lot of things that we do, the three of us, when we're in a meeting, we're very comfortable with each other. So we're able to sort of read body language, what we can do and what we can't do. And we're all mothers. Some of us are grandparents. Some of us aren't, Debbie, but someday.
Yeah.
But, and we understand. Yeah, exactly. And we understand, raising a family, and when you need to make money and you need to be paid just as much as a man in the same job. So we understand those things. So I think that sets us a little bit apart from some of the other county commissioners. And I know Debbie knows this a little bit more than we do. We're active in the County Commissioners Association of Ohio. And, a lot of those rural counties, boy, it's the boys kind of take control of them. So the larger counties are much more attuned to more of a woman's issues.
Yeah. Debbie, any reflections on kind of the experience of being a female policymaker and maybe the difference that makes in terms of where you shine your focus?
Yes, there is a difference, and this is my whole career in county government. I think I've taken into consideration mothers, other women in the workforce. We sometimes male leadership, and I'm not being critical, but they just don't think of the things that we have experienced and know about. And I'm just going to give one little example that we asked that we're probably not going to do as much construction now in our building or repair, but we asked that there be a nursing room for mothers. We don't have anything like that. I worked for 15 years in the auditor's office, and my office became the nursing room for mothers. So it's little things like that. But I think overall, all three of us, while we're very active and engaged in our economic development and our workforce development, we're also, I think, empathetic and perhaps more concerned about the issues that I say keep me up every night, whether it's poverty in our community, child abuse, on and on and on. One of the things I work on is infant mortality. I co-chair that with our health commissioner. And, to be one of the worst in the state is heartbreaking to me. And so I think we each have chosen things to champion that I'm not saying men wouldn't champion them, but I think that there's something about our makeup that these are the things that we not only enjoy, but truly believe we can make a difference in.
Yeah. Carolyn?
I would just agree with all of that. I've had a broad swath, each of us has had a broad swath of experience before we were county commissioners. So you bring that to the table. But I know for myself and a lot of women, it's not about us. It's about the job that needs to be done. And I view our community as an extension of my family. And my state's a bigger family, and my nation's an even bigger family. And I just think that as women, we find a way to take care of everybody in our family. We think about them, and they're top of mind. We don't want to leave anybody out. And I'm not saying that men don't. I would never say that, but I think that we are very much socialized from the very beginning to be far more sensitive to that. And so as a result, I think having the mix of men and women and every kind of other diversity you can imagine better reflects our community, and will come up with more innovative and more appropriate solutions. So for us to not be at the table is not going to get the best solutions. You can't when you don't have the reflection of everyone in your community.
Yeah. So that seems like a great jumping off point for me to invite people to be part of this cause, right? The Matriots' big, hairy, audacious goal is by 2028, so that's 9 years away, we want 50% women to be at policymaking tables in Ohio. That's our purpose. And there are more than 17,000 elected positions across the state of Ohio. The idea that we're only sitting in 27% of them while we're 51% of the population is just fairly unacceptable. And I think that the crisis that we're in now is really pointing out how much more difficult it has been for women in their caretaker roles, as well as in the kinds of roles that we often fill professionally that have been the first to go away, right? Service and other care sorts of jobs. And so we really want to invite people who may be watching who are not yet Matriots to go to matriotsohio.com. The crisis is causing every one of us to focus on who our elected leaders are and what the outcomes of voting really look like. And so the Matriots as a PAC puts together every $100, $200, $50, $1,000 gift and really tries to look through our endorsement process at how to get more qualified women who will focus on economic security and stability for women and prosperity for women and families to be at those tables and to do that very quickly over the next 10 years. So I thank each of you for taking time, for spending a little bit of your day helping us to orient ourselves to what's going on at the county commission level. Debbie and Judy in particular, we're hoping for great results when we have them from our mail-in ballot and then on to the general. I'm sorry that we couldn't hear from Valerie, but we're so glad that she had this idea to put us all together, and a really great conversation. So thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being Matriots.
Thank you. Thank you
so much.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye, Valerie.
Hang in there. Stay safe. We're all in it together.
Everybody stay safe.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.